Hey everyone, we are still in the Psalms. We have about, I think, close to a week or so, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, before we get back into the narrative of Scripture. And we will be looking at Solomon and his kingship and leadership of the people of Israel. But today is May 13th, and we are going to be I'm chuckling because I'm looking at what I titled the lesson. We're looking at Psalm 86, not the entire Psalm, but we're just looking at a couple verses. Actually, I think just one verse is what I narrowed it down to. And I'm chuckling because I have been called before, many years ago, a long time ago, I know it all. Somebody that had an answer for everything, had always had something to contribute to the conversation. My solution was the best one. My information was the most valuable. I know, it turns my stomach. It really does. And I will say, I'm not completely cured of that. I mean, there's a part of me at times that ugliness rises up. I hope I'm not the only one that still deals with some of those old demons and things that we live as part of our past, but it still comes up. But I was never, I never had a phrase after me. I mean, know-it-all, yes. I was never called that even to my face. But I sensed that about myself, and I sensed that people had that idea of me. After I became a little bit more aware of myself, do you know what I mean? The Spirit started doing its work in my life. But there was a phrase that we said about a friend of ours, and I'm not going to mention his name, growing up, and it was I'm going to call him Carl, because I don't even know that I knew a Carl then. But if what was it said? If Carl doesn't know it, it ain't knowledge. In other words, he knew it. He knew it all. With the quotes, he knew it all. He was like Google, or so he thought. Let me say that. In his own eyes, that's how he viewed himself. And so it was serious, to the point where, when we needed to know something, we would go ask him. And it was just funny. If Carl didn't know it, it ain't knowledge. In other words, it hadn't even happened yet, because he knows it all. And one of the things that we see in these Psalms of David that are not dated, not attached to anything, is that we see, and throughout his life, even those that we do know, we see him rising. Hear my metaphor here. Rising. It's not a metaphor. It's the opposites. The rising of his humility, his humbleness, the rising of his bowing, that he became a humble man. And I wonder if, well, I do believe that our trials and the discipline that we are subject to because of our disobedience and our sin has a way of bringing us to a place of being humble. At least in part, at least that's what its purpose is. I believe that's what its purpose is. And he's having this conversation, David's having this conversation with God, and he uses the word, a couple of words here that I wanted us to pick apart and have a little bit of fun with. He says in verse 11, teach me your ways, O Lord. that I might live according to your word. Grant me purity of heart so that I might honor you. So in other words, teach me your ways so that I can walk in them. And grant me a purity of heart so I can honor you. So he's gotten to the point where life is really about honoring God, exalting God, learning from God. It's a place of humility. Instruct here means to furnish with knowledge, give knowledge, basically in a systematic method to train or to teach, to educate. And what we need to realize is when we ask God to teach us, that his methods are systematic. He has a plan. And as I said a few minutes ago, his plan may include discipline. His plan may include some criticism. His plan may include correction. We have to trust him as the teacher to use whatever method he needs to use and he deems reasonable, because he would never bring harm to his children. It's everything he does is harm for harm's sake. He might allow something to come into our life, but it's all to bring us to in alignment with the image that we were created to be, and that is in the image of God. He said also, and I use the word walk. He didn't use, walk is not in the NLT. I think that's the ESV. But what he is saying here is, teach me your ways, and I want to have a relationship with you. I want to, in all of my comings and all of my goings, here, there, yonder, and around, I want to walk with you in your ways. You can't separate his ways with his presence. It's impossible. So he said, I'm going to take you wherever I go. That's what that word walk means. It means depart, proceed, move around. Wherever I'm going, you're going with me, and so are your ways. But here's what kind of got me. David is saying, teach me your ways, O Lord. So I was kind of, the Spirit kind of whispered, convicted, that perhaps I open my Bible and just start reading to try to understand in my own mind and in my own ways. Do I really ask God to teach me? I mean, really, my toes were stepped on. Do I ask God to teach me? I'm not going to say I've never said those words, but can I say I rarely say them? I might say things like, open my eyes, reveal to me. That's not the same as teaching. And that's not to say he's not teaching me. What I am saying is that David opened himself up by saying, God, teach me. And teach me your ways, not the ways of the world, not the ways of the fast track. Whatever ways you have, I want to know them, is what he's saying. He also promises to obey them. He says, I'm going to walk in them. How often do I ask God to teach me, number one, and then whatever you show me, I'm going to obey? Do I want to know what he wants me to do before I agree to do it? A lot of times. David's saying, if you teach me, I'm going to walk right in it. And I'm guilty of wanting to know what that way looks like before I can see to go? Can you give me a glimpse? Can you clear out a little piece so I can see? And then he desires a divided heart. I love this whole idea of silencing the know-it-all in me. And this idea of grant me purity of heart so that I might honor you. Not so that I could have accolades, not so that people can notice me, but so they'll notice you and I can give you honor. A couple of different translations. One said, make me single-hearted. Another said, give me an undivided mind to fear you. How interesting, because all Satan wants us to do is have a divided mind and divided heart. And to give love and devotion to this, and love and devotion to this, and love and honor to this, and invest our time in this, and glorify that. But David's saying, no, I want to know your ways, and I'm going to walk in them, whatever they are. And I want you to give me a heart that is in alignment with your heart. Oh, that we would pray that today. You know, it takes great humility to be taught. Know-it-alls don't like to be taught. They don't like to be humbled. They don't like to be proven wrong because their way is right. So today, I just want to silence the know-it-all in me, and I want to be a teach me, Lord, not a know-it-all. I put a quote there by Boyce I thought you all might like. Take a few minutes to read that as you study over our notes for today. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.